So what's all the fuss about? The religion of money. Buckle up, Dorothy. Kansas is going bye-bye. Decimus Juvenalis, born 55 AD, Rome, Italy, said, "Give them bread and circuses, or superficial appeasement." During this crisis, we are being fed bread and circuses. As our world seems to be tearing itself apart, polarising our world into factions bent on destroying each other. The one thing you don't hear is that there is a silent majority that are frustrated by current events and the presence of this apparent conflict. This silence will not continue indefinitely, and common sense will win out. Many people all over the world are frightened and scared of where we are headed as a species. You can love capitalism, dislike capitalism, or have no opinion at all. Wherever you are on this subject, if this system falls quickly, we will all miss capitalism. Money is the same as a measuring tape, or more specifically, the millimetres on that tape. It measures work done. Politicians have systematically destroyed the world's economy, and in the coming months and years, we will see the true cost of lockdown. When the chips are down, these civilised people will eat each other. The Joker. So what's all the fuss about? Quantitative easing is a term described by pumping money into markets through interest-bearing loans. Governments borrow money from their country's central bank, like the Federal Reserve in the US and the Bank of England. These institutions have misleading names to make you think they are owned by their respective governments and people. In fact, these banks are partially privately owned and run for profit. Central banks do not possess the money they lend. The money is created when governments swap treasury bonds for cash. A treasury bond is a promise to pay from the people of each country that they will pay it back. With this promise in the form of treasury bonds, the central bank is allowed to do something that sounds illegal. It can create money at will and transfer the digits into government accounts. If you or I chose to do this, it would be called counterfeiting. But that's only half of it. Central banks charge interest on the loans to government. However, the money to cover the interest has never been created. This creates a problem. If the money to pay the interest is never created, where does it come from? It comes from two places: the pool of cash already in the system, and newly created money from treasury bond swaps in the future. If this sounds like a strange system, you are not wrong. It is in fact a system of slavery, as once in debt, a country can't escape without going bankrupt. At this point, the central bank will accept property owned by the people as payment. This means real-world assets are stolen, as the bank never had the money prior to the treasury bond swap. If all loans were paid today in totality, the interest would still be owed, and no money would be in existence. This is because money is debt, and debt is money. What gives our money value is our faith in it. No faith, no money. So has it always been like this? No. In 1971, President Nixon took the US off the gold standard. The gold standard directly linked money to gold or the price of gold. Notes used to say exchangeable for gold. Now it says legal tender, which means it can be used to pay taxes. This system was safer because there was a finite amount of gold, so the money regulated itself via the price of gold, supply and demand. Since the standard was removed, there would be no upper limit on how much money is available. Every country has a national debt to their central bank. They also have a deficit, which is the shortfall in money collected in taxes for financial commitments they have made for infrastructure, welfare, healthcare and defence. It's this promise to spend that gets governments elected. This money is borrowed each year to make up the shortfall in taxes. This is then added to the national debt. Most governments spend a large chunk of their tax revenue paying the interest on the national debt. Governments and central banks have no skin in the game. Taxpayers owe the money and pay the interest, while central banks lent the money that didn't exist and have little interest in recovering the principal amount loaned so long as the interest keeps rolling in. Politicians keep this cycle going as their motivation is to retain power and pass the debt on to the next party in power. This is a bubble and begs the question, do governments run our countries or are they just puppets to central banks? Permit me to issue and control the money of a nation and I care not who makes its laws. Mayer Rothschild. The US spent $25 billion on World War II. And today they are spending or creating $125 billion per day. We've all heard of the word inflation, but do we understand what causes it? Most people know inflation is when prices rise and wages don't. Although this is true, it's not the full story. The real economy is the amount of goods and services that are available to purchase. When governments create new money and add it to the existing money in circulation, something happens. It does not add value, it only dilutes everybody's money. With more money available, more people want to buy more things. If the supply does not increase to match the newly created money, prices rise. This is called supply and demand. During the lockdown, there was a drop of demand for petrol and diesel, and production was not throttled down due to a dispute between Saudi Arabia and Russia. When supply outstrips demand, prices plummet. This is called deflation, which is just as bad. With the hike in demand due to an increased money supply, prices rise, which creates a feedback loop that there still isn't enough money. So more money is borrowed and prices rise again. This is called hyperinflation. Germany in the 1930s experienced hyperinflation, partially due to war reparations to the Allies over World War I. The country was on its knees and printing itself into a corner. When it's cheaper to wallpaper your home with cash than buy the wallpaper and a loaf of bread is out of reach for most people, you get revolution and the rise of far left and far right parties. We all know the story from here on. If you don't, you need to. This will likely happen again, and it's happened many times since in other parts of the world. So what's the cure? Bitcoin and others like it seem like a reasonable choice. Again, it's a faith-based system with nothing backing it. However, its value is derived from its unique creation, and it also has an upper limit to how many coins can be created. To prevent fraudulent transactions taking place, you need 50% of all Bitcoin users to agree that your Bitcoin is legitimate. As everybody has a copy of the ledger that includes everybody's transaction history, if a discrepancy appears, the transaction can't happen. The poor handling of the worldwide lockdown has shrunk the real economy. We are seeing evidence for this with the mass redundancies happening now as furlough schemes wind down. Less jobs means less goods and services. However, we have more money in the system. This is a transfer of wealth on a global scale. It seems like we're being forced into dependency on government. Dependency equals control. In the US, small businesses have been hardest hit by the lockdowns and social unrest, while Amazon and Facebook have seen a huge rise in profits. See the bread and circuses for what they are, a disingenuous attempt to buy our appeasement. History is being written now, but unlike our predecessors, we have the knowledge and technology to build a better world without the need for silly salutes or bushy moustaches. Interesting, don't you think? If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see our latest videos, subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notified of our latest videos. If you have any questions or comments, pop them down below.